cutting in perfect. Look at this timing. We get to watch the whole game. It's beautiful. You know what else is beautiful? Those lime green sleeves.
Those lime green sleeves are excellent. They are.
They are fantastic.
They are.
You can find your deck in a dark room with, with those sleeves.
I remember Brian, the 1 seed here, he defeated Elves in 3 games in the top 8, and he's going to 3 again in the top 4. This time he's going to be on the draw for game 3, though.
Fairly significant. The Elves deck can be quite explosive if it is given the play. Looks like Brian does have a couple of removal spells and counters there, and the always scary Umezawa's Jite.
So we'll lead off on Deathrite Shaman from Spencer. We'll meet some 1-drop from Brian. Brian actually is boarded in Meddling Mage in this matchup.
Meddling Mage, and that's not just the Meddling Mage, that's a Crispicula.
That's a Crispicula Meddling Mage.
Yes.
The Meddling Mage before the card underwent
some cosmetic changes. Yeah. Yeah, didn't you know? Crispicula had some work done, you know?
Yeah, big fan of the new art, I know. All right, and this is the game plan that I kind of expect Blue-White Red Delver to be on. He has the Lightning Bolt for the 1-drop, and he's going to continue to try to play removal spells until he can stick a Jite or something like that here.
Yep, he's certainly in the control seat to start, but he turns the corner hard and fast with something like Umezawa's Jite, the Pyroclasm, you know, a bunch of spot removal spells, Batter Skull, Geist of St. Traft, or just straight up Grim Lavamancer taking control and, you know, riding it to victory.
All right, so Spencer cracks another fetch land. And he's going to go Green Sun Zenith for 0 here, it looks like, getting Dryad Arbor while he's in his deck. Just developing his mana base. One of the things that Elf combo does really well is it's actually pretty resilient to 1-for-1 removal, thanks to cards like Elvish Visionary and Glimpse of Nature.
Absolutely. Even Wild Symbiote can give you fits. You know, you have to kill the symbiote. You can't kill anything else. Looks like Kyrian Ranger on board.
Yeah.
Brian gonna let that go.
Yeah, in a removal-heavy matchup, you'll see Elf decks make a play like a Glimpse, play 3 guys, just say go, basically using Glimpse as a Harmonize in the deck.
Which is very powerful against these 1-for-1 decks. Brian actually has a Daze in his hand and let that Kyrian Ranger go. Very interesting choice here. Maybe holding it as a blue card for a Force of Will, or, you know, a card to put back with a Brainstorm later on. Gonna use the pinpoint removal on the Kyrian Ranger. Curious.
Yeah. Yep, so he's using that to take care of the Ranger. That instant speed removal can be really good against Elves.
Yep, and he's...
And now we see another Deathrite Shaman from Spencer. That was his draw for the turn. Dryad Arbor is going to get some damage in. So when Elves is getting 1-for-1, we'd oftentimes actually see it go on the beatdown plan. This is not, you know, this is
use the term beatdown liberally, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, what I guess the thing is sometimes you see a combo deck, like we saw a Lurin play.
Ooh, huge
and that was huge.
By Spencer. He actually attacked with his Dryad Arbor first, then played his Wild Symbiote into Brian Weller's Daze. That was a huge misstep because, I mean, I assume that Spencer just thought that Brian didn't have a Daze. If he had a Daze, he dazes my Kyrian Ranger, doesn't waste Swords to Plowshares on it, but Brian getting huge value out of his Daze there.
Yeah, Symbiote is one of the really strong spells against 1-for-1 removal, and it's really good for Brian that he was able to get a counter spell on that one, especially when the only counter spell or removal spell he had remaining was the Daze.
Was the softest of counters, the Daze.
Yeah, so Spencer's left with a hand that's pretty light on action. He has 4 lands. Looks like maybe even another in his hand.
Well, I don't imagine this is a natural order, as I believe it would have been slammed.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead. We're going to see what he'll go for here. He's going to crack the fetch land. That'll put him down to 18. I was saying before, though, is that some combo decks we saw Lurin play. It attacked with creatures, but that was really, you know, it was incidental. It's not for real. You know, for example, Lurin always wins with the combo. Elves is the deck that when the combo fails, it does start turning its creatures sideways.
Yes, it can certainly win actual games of Magic the Gathering. And then it also has unfair draws, which makes it, you know, the powerful deck that it is.
Yeah, so that fetch was for a Bayou to go ahead and start eating cards in the graveyard. It's a fast way to deal damage, as we saw Spencer exiled the Daze with Deathrite Shaman, but he has a 5th land in play
And here comes an equipment. Either is going to be pretty game-breaking here. Going to start with the Batterskull, though.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I believe he starts with Batterskull here because Batterskull is the bait spell.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting when you think about it, because Batterskull is typically the card that Delver tries to protect.
Yep. And gets to untap. Plays his third land. The Vigilance Germ gets in for 4 lifelink.
Yeah, the third land allows him to protect the Batterskull if he wants to as well. He has Meddling Mage, Umezawa's Jite, and Force of Will in his hand now.
Even a Flusterstorm, it looked like.
Yeah.
So, you know, very hard for Spencer to break out of this one.
Now, Spencer has changed the tune of his Deathrite Shaman. This time it exiled his own Wirewood Symbiote as opposed to Brian's spells.
Hard to race a Batterskull.
Yeah, one of the ways he can race a Batterskull is using Wirewood Symbiote with Dryad Arbor repeatedly, but because of the fact that the Symbiote was countered, that is not actually an option. It's also one of the few ways he can keep Jite counters off the battlefield.
Correct, but neither of those are going to happen this game, as the Umezawa's Jite going on the Batterskull token, and it will get in a clean hit.
Yeah, this is going to be a clean hit here. That'll bring Brian up above 20 life, but more importantly, it's going to put 2 counters on the Jite.
This is quite a game state.
All right, so for Spencer to win here, it's going to start with Viridian Shaman. Where does it go from there?
Oh, Wirewood Symbiote.
Actually, looking at his list, it's going to start with Harmonic Sliver. He plays that over
and
Viridian
you can't
Shaman.
Wirewood Symbiote that.
Yeah, so he doesn't actually have an elf that blows up artifacts. It's just the Sliver.
Huh. Well, then it's likely... I can tell you this much. It is not by casting your Finhor elf.
Right.
It is likely a Glimpse turn was his only real way out.
So Brian went ahead and cashed in those Jite counters to take care of creatures. They took, including the Dryad Arbor, and he's going to go ahead and swing again with the Germ token. The draw for Spencer was Fintorn Elves, but Brian's going to get to re-up with more Jite counters as well as more damage. And an active Jite is one of the hardest things for elves to answer.
Yeah. Near impossible once it gets rolling.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and use those counters to take care of Deathrite Shaman. In response, Spencer's going to gain some life, but he is still under the slow, crushing attacks of this Germ token.
It is nearing the abyss with a jet.
Yeah.
Jite on the abyss.
So we see a fetch here from Brian. It looks like he's going to make Geist of Saint Traff this turn. Just continue to further press his advantage.
Close the game out while you're, unbelievably ahead.
Close it out while you're ahead. I think the other thing that Spencer could do is he could natural order for Progenitus if he's boarded it in. That's one possible out that he has.
Yeah, that is theoretically possible.
As we know, though, Brian does have the Force of Will plus blue card, so he has that out covered as well right now.
Just all the bases, this guy. Every single base.
Yeah, it's going to be, there are very few draws. This actually represents a swing of 10 next turn. If he swings the Mystic, he can swing 11.
Which does represent lethal. Green Sun Zenith for Harmonic Sliver. That's a start, right?
Well, it's a start. It'll get the Jite off the board. There's still a lot more that needs to go right for Spencer, though. His whole board has been swept by Umezawa's Jite.
Yep. You might actually have to hit the Batterskull this turn, because you have Abrupt Decays for the Umezawa's Jite. The problem then is that you're never ever getting to deal with the Geist of Saint Traff. Oh, that is a tough spot. Rock, meet hard place. Misses all through with Force of Will,
Yeah.
by the way.
So we're going to see what Spencer can do. He's right now probably thinking through his options for Green Sun Zenith. He's going to start with Heritage Druid.
All right.
Brian can afford to let that resolve. Remember, he does have a Force of Will here and a Flusterstorm. So his double counter spell. It's likely he can let some of these resolve here. He probably wants to wait for a business spell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, Gaia's Cradle played from Spencer, and now he's playing out his whole hand, which gives a lot of information to Brian.
Yeah, he can now perfectly know what the Force of Will is going to be targeting.
Yep, there's a total of 5 mana available, 6 mana available for Spencer, thanks to Fintorn Elves and Gaia's Cradle, both creating an extra mana. He could Green Sun for up to 5.
Which only gets him the Harmonic Sliver.
Yeah, I think the ideal thing is if he had a symbiote. I think what he wants to do is Green Sun. So let's assume that Brian has no counterspells, which we know isn't the case. What Spencer would want to do, I think, is Green Sun for Elvish Visionary, hoping to top deck a Wirewood Symbiote with that card draw, because those two cards in conjunction could actually keep him alive. Then he could deny GT counters.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I think that's the play he goes for.
That's the only way out, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's the way out. He's going to go for 3. That signals an Essence Sliver, or sorry, Harmonic Sliver.
Interesting tap job there too, but none of it really matters because Brian does choose the Force of Will there, pitching the Meddling Mage.
Yeah, Meddling Mage, it's an okay card against Elves, but it's actually, like, you Meddling Mage the Crater Hoof Behemoth usually, but Elves does have a lot of other ways to win.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the texture, you can name, the Glimpse, the Natural Order, or the Crater Hoof Behemoth itself. Green Sun Zenith is actually a good, in the dark name, just lock out a card, a pretty important card. Because
all the cards are creatures and he also has Green Sun Zenith, though, it's very hard to actually lock out a card.
Right.
All right, so we see...
Especially with Natural Order also.
Right. So we see some deck manipulation here from Brian. He's really just kind of trying to shore up his outs. On ends, we'll see what he goes for here. Really, though, the board is more than all the game is.
Yeah. Absolutely overwhelming advantage for Brian now. Just a matter of closing it out in the most effective way possible. Gonna brainstorm here, hitting a Wasteland, a Delver, and a Fetch Land. Wasteland's the Cradle, because why not?
He's gonna waste the Cradle to keep Spencer off mana. He doesn't want any large plays hitting the board here. And then he's gonna quickly swing the team. I'm assuming he's making the Angel token.
Yeah.
He can just verbally declare that. Yep, there we go. There's the Angel.
Get out of here, Angel.
Yep, the Heritage Druid on chump blocks. Looks like he's going to take 7. That'll drop him to 4. One of the GT counters takes care of Fintorn Elves. And the top deck
and balance! What an amazing top deck!
Yeah.
Oh, okay, no.
But he didn't have the white to cast it. That's the problem.
He had the Savannah. Did he not?
I don't believe he had the Savannah. No. So
Rats.
drew the balance. Wasn't able to do anything with it.
Unlucky.
So Brian was able to win the game 2-1. So we'll have an all-Delver final here between Brian Weller-Gordon, the overall 1 seed in his blue-white-red Delver deck. He'll be facing off against Jacob Wilson, piloting Rug Delver.
The Delver on Delver hate.
Yeah.
We saw this matchup earlier, did we not?
We saw this matchup earlier between Jacob Wilson and Joshua Ravitz. Josh was playing the blue-white-red Delver deck.